And we're back. My name is Taylor of Taylor Talks Comics, and whether you're watching this on my YouTube channel of Taylor Talks Comics or the Organic Price Books channel, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below with all your thoughts throughout the duration of this video. So this was one of my most anticipated omnibuses of the year, and I have to say it knocked it out of the park with its release. And most of this content I'd read before. It did pack in a lot of stuff that I hadn't read, but it wasn't a brand new read for me, which a lot of omnibuses that I get excited about are because I've never read the material before. But there was stuff in here that I have not read. So up first, they went with the Howard Chaykin cover of the first issue of Suicide Squad, which is the best cover to go with. Love the overall design of this book. And you can see right here it has a forward by James Gunn, which is amazing. And then we have some of the credited artists down here: Luke McDonald, Bob Lewis, and Carl Gafford. The spine is a really, really brilliant design. I believe they went with a similar kind of motif with the Secret Six omnibus. So it is going to be great to see all these lined up and see what the design looks like of the spine with them all on the same shelf together, because this will be a 3-volume set. We found that out in the forward introduction of this book, which is really, really great as well. And then here's the back with a big wanted poster. And then underneath the dust jacket, they have a similar motif as everything else, but it's got this blood splatter design to it, so you can kind of do a compare and contrast here. It's the same exact cover, but with a blood splatter and bullet holes. Same thing on the spine. Got some more bullet holes and blood splatter, and then on the back. So it got really kind of cool, really pretty creative for DC to do that. And then the end papers are just plain black. And here's a title page, which I think was one of the covers they used for one of the trade paperbacks. And then here's the lineup team with all these bullet holes throughout it as well. Entire credits you get down here. And then a great table of contents. Really, really great to see that DC puts a great table of contents in here with this kind of collection. They don't do it for all the collections, unfortunately, but this one in particular, it seems like more of the more classic omnibuses they do has all the credits you want in there. And then all the issue numbers, issue titles, and everything. And then this book does have 1,064 pages. We get the forward here by James Gunn, written in January 2025. And then the introduction here by John Ostrander. And that's written in November 2024. So the introduction by James Gunn, which is I really, really love, because I'm a huge James Gunn fan. I absolutely love the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like my favorite trilogy of movies, maybe only second to Back to the Future. So I really love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Really on board with everything that James Gunn's doing with DC, the DCU. But in here he talks about how this run in particular influenced pretty much everything he did in movies, including Guardians of the Galaxy, including his own Suicide Squad movie that he came out with, or directed. And then the introduction by John Ostrander tells us a little bit behind the scenes of how this was created, but that's not the only thing that we'll get from John Ostrander, because this book was packed with lots of good extras and back matter, behind the scenes stuff. That's one of the things that makes this the best omnibus of the year. It's not just an omnibus where he's packed in all the stories and then left it as is. There's actually a lot of behind the scenes stuff. No stone left unturned with wanting to know the makings of this. So right away we kick it off with the 6-part miniseries of Legends. I never read Legends before. This is my first time reading it, was in this omnibus. Because the one previous time that I read the Suicide Squad run was when I read the trade paperbacks. I believe there's 5 trade paperbacks that came out with to do the entirety of the Ostrander run. And Legends did not kick it off. It started off with the first Secret Origins issue, which we'll get to. So I was blown away reading this, because this event is amazing. I can't believe I've not heard more people talk about this event. There were a lot of tie-ins and spin-offs and things that came out of Legends that I feel like they could pack in a whole omnibus of the story, if not an absolute. And I would absolutely buy that omnibus, or absolute if it came out, because it's got all John Byrne artwork, which is amazing. This is when John Byrne first comes to DC after leaving Fantastic Four with Marvel. And I think it's before or maybe concurrently with the Man of Steel run. I don't exactly know how that lines up. John Byrne was known for his output of putting out multiple issues every month, so he could have very well been doing this when he's doing Man of Steel, but I digress. This kicks off a lot of things. So this Legends event takes place right after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which, if you don't know, was like the biggest event in DC history, the one that kind of kicked off all their events. It started in 1985 and went through 1986, and it was an event to shore up all of their lines. Previous to that, they had multiple Earths, where they had Earth 1, Earth 2, all these different Earths with different versions of the characters, different Superman characters, different Batman, and, you know, so on and so on. So in order to tie all those up and have only one Earth for all the heroes and kind of bring almost like a Marvel-like continuity to their universe, they had Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that 12-issue event happens, and then right after that, this Legends run kicks off. So that's like kind of like Crisis is kind of the event that wraps up everything, ties it all in a nice bow, and then Legends is kind of like the launching pad for all the new status quo with these characters. So you don't just get the debut and launch of the Suicide Squad within this series. You also get the JLI kind of launching through here. You get some appearances by Batman, Flash, by William Ness, or no, not William Messner Loebs, because he doesn't jump on right away, but the Mike Baron run kicks off right after this. Shazam, Captain Marvel kicks off as well throughout this, and it's all beautiful artwork by John Byrne, and all written by John Ostrander, and Len Wein is the scripter. I think is that how it's broken down? That John Ostrander is the plotter, yeah, and Len Wein's the scripter throughout all 6 issues. So it's a perfect, great launching pad with the new status quo of the DC. And it grounds it in realism, because you see right here, we have Ronald Reagan as the main character with the political regime of the U.S. throughout here. So it's grounded in realism, and it's a launching pad for all these new characters. And the whole thing's about Darkseid versus Phantom Stranger, kind of going in this little bet about Darkseid's betting Phantom Stranger that he can create a atmosphere where the Earthlings do not trust superheroes, and they kind of can fight against them. And Phantom Stranger has more faith in humanity, and that's kind of the battle there. And then we get to Secret Origins, issue number 14, The Suicide Squad. This is the official debut of the newest Suicide Squad, and also wrapping up loose ends from the previous Suicide Squad. Now, I'll let you know, I used to have the Silver Age Suicide Squad omnibus. It's a very thin omnibus. People found it all the time back in the day. I can't remember where I found my copy, but I love Silver Age comics. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know I love Silver and Golden Age comics. By the way, if you're not a longtime viewer, please subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up, comment down below. I really, really appreciate that. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. But I read that omnibus, and I did not like it. The artwork was great, but the stories itself were very repetitive. The characters weren't very developed. And the whole thing was about these 4 different adventurers, and one of them was a woman, 3 guys, and all 3 guys had a crush on the girl, but Karen, but she was in love with Rick Flag, but they couldn't tell the other 2 members that they were in love with each other. They had to have the secret love, because the other 2 members might go crazy and lose their minds if they revealed that Karen was not in love with, I don't know, this whole big mess. And they repeated that thing throughout every single issue. It was awful. I did not, it was very boring. And like I said, I love Silver Age comics. It wasn't just the fact that it was that era. But all those loose ends are tied here. And you don't have to have read that before reading this. This is a total brand new launch, this omnibus. You can pick up this omnibus and start here. Everything you need to know is laid out for you within this book. And then also throughout the Secret Origins issue, the biggest part is Amanda Waller, one of the best characters DC's ever had, is debuts when you kind of see her backstory and her origin, and why she becomes a leader of the Suicide Squad. And then we get into the issue 1 of Suicide Squad. So we're 200 pages into this omnibus before we get to issue number 1, which like I said is the cover of the omnibus. But don't like fret. Like that's not like a 200 pages of like this. Like this is 200 pages of great comics before you get to the first issue. And we get to Trial by Blood. Now what makes this such a great run is that the whole premise is that Amanda Waller has these villains, and they're all put into this prison called Belle Reve in the New Orleans area. And they are basically have long sentences. They're never going to get out of prison. But the way out, a little pardon, if you will, via the president, is for them to form on this team called Task Force X. It's nicknamed Suicide Squad throughout this book, and obviously the issues are called Suicide Squad, but their main title is Task Force X. And they're this clandestine group that goes in on these missions that no one else wants to go on. And they're suicide missions. They're missions that you go on, and the odds of you coming back in, alive or in full 100% parts is very little. So, and you're paired with all these other bad guys that are, not so great to be in the same room with, let alone on a team with, in a mission that's got dire straits. But if you're one of these villains and you complete the mission, then you're pardoned, you're free to go on the streets. Now, how they are able to control the villains and make sure that they don't go awry and just run away once they go on these missions is that they put these bracelets on them, which you kind of saw this with the opening of the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie, but they're collars in the movie, but they're bracelets. You can see Captain Boomerang's wearing one right here. And if they go astray, they will blow off their arm, basically. And that's it. So you have this ragtag team of group that's constantly evolving, constantly changing. The lineup of the group is changing throughout the book. You have some mainstays here. You have Rick Flag Jr. is in every issue. You have Captain Boomerang is in almost every issue. But then you have other villains pop up and make cameos, like Penguin from Batman makes a cameo. And the greatest thing is they go on these missions, and they're clandestine missions that no one else wants to be a part of. No one else knows about them. And they're suicide missions. But this book, even though it's in DC continuity where you think like Big Two comics never have stakes, they never have people will die off or people will be permanently injured or those kinds of things. Not this book. This book, John Ostrander had free will because he's using these C&D listers to kill off characters, to have characters lose limbs, There's real stakes in these books. They go on missions where half the team won't come back alive. So no one is safe within this book, in this continuity. So that makes it fun and a lot different than your typical Big Two comics. There is this big crossover with Firestorm, which is another character that John Ostrander was writing those comics of. So he was able to cross them over seamlessly throughout here into this mission where Firestorm goes on this anti-nuclear weapon mission, and we have the JLI and the Suicide Squad both converging and fighting different sides of the coin for who's going to stop Firestorm and what reason will they stop him. That's really great crossover, and that's the cool thing is too, like the cast of characters you see throughout this omnibus are vast. Like you'll see so many different characters throughout here making cameos, and it's a great way to, if you're not familiar with the DC universe, great way to familiarize yourself with like a ton of different characters. C and D listers, a couple A-listers will pop up here and there, like Batman. You'll see him from time to time, where he tries to figure out what's going on with the Suicide Squad and Task Force X and figure out how to stop them and things. And the artwork by Luke McDonnell is brilliant. Like I love this artwork throughout. It's such a great comic book feel to it, but with also realistic figure drawing and things. Really, really great stuff by Luke McDonnell. And he's pretty much the artist throughout the entirety of the Suicide Squad issues. You will see like a John Byrne appear in the Legends issues, and some other artists will. Eric Larson does the crossover with Doom Patrol, which we'll see here in a little bit. I wonder if I can get to that real fast. Oh, here it is. This special Doom Patrol and Suicide Squad. This is written by Paul Kupperberg, who was doing the Bronze Age Doom Patrol at the time. Oh, I didn't even notice that. It has like the one side cover, but then also the wraparound cover right there. So if you have the Doom Patrol Bronze Age Omnibus, I believe this issue is in there as well. And this is drawn by Eric Larson, early Eric Larson artwork. And it crosses over with the Suicide Squad pretty seamlessly as well. And then you'll also get some issues of Checkmate in here, which I think I can find right here. Checkmate issue number 1. written by Kupperberg as well, so he kind of crosses over as well. And Checkmate is the other organization that Amanda Waller is kind of in charge of, and they're made with a different premise and mantra and things than Suicide Squad, so there's like a difference of opinion, a difference of modus operandi of the two groups. So this is just such a blast to read. I pounded through this in just a few days, and just had a absolute great time with it. You know, reacclimating to these different characters and reading some of these issues that I hadn't read because they weren't in the previous trade paperbacks that I'd read. So that's awesome stuff. I can't express enough how much I love this. But now let's get to the back matter, because there's so much back matter in this omnibus. I was excited to see that because there's, I think between Marvel and DC doesn't do the best with their back matter on omnibuses. A lot of times you'll just get like the creator bios and that's it. But like this whole thing right here, this is all back matter for this omnibus. And you even get like a little table of contents here with Task Force X case files. So you get all the DC Who's Who case files for each character that you meet throughout here, which is great because, like I said, these are C and D listers that you're not familiar with. If you want to familiarize yourself with them, you can see what these biographies were written for these characters that were written in real time back then in the late 80s. And then after the character bios, which there's a lot of those in here, you get one of my favorite parts of this whole book. I get the, okay, so in the beginning, is that, okay, so mostly unredacted history of Suicide Squad. So you get John Ostrander writing, this is Robert Greenberger, sorry, right in that part, but you get John Ostrander writing about the makings of the Suicide Squad. So you get him, these are, like, he wrote these last year, I'm assuming, in 2024. It doesn't say as much. I wish it did have like a year stamp on it so we know when he wrote these. But just based on some of the current events things he writes within the dialogue here, they have to be pretty recent. So I'm assuming last year he wrote these. But you get him writing about like legends in here, and then we get the legends letters page written. So we get the current day what John Ostrander thinks about this story, and then you get the letters page of what they were thinking about real time back then. And then same thing for all the issues of Suicide Squad. So here's Secret Origins 14, him writing about that issue. We get some ads and things and behind the scenes archives from Luke McDonnell, some title lettering that he's working up for the logo, and then Liftoff, John Ostrander writing about issue number 1, and then the letters page for issue number 1, issue number 2, the letters page for issue number 2. So every historical piece that you wanted to know about this run is all included, with all these pencil to ink pages too. This original art pages are included in here. A script is included in here from John Ostrander. And that's one thing I'm excited about the most is like through this 3-volume series of Suicide Squad, we're going to get everything we wanted to know about this run by John Ostrander. One of the great reasons why I'm excited to releasing these collections when we still have these awesome, amazing creators with us still. But I can't recommend this omnibus enough. It's such a fun read, and then also the historical context that's included in it as well is great. It's going to be a 3-volume set. I'm excited to own all 3 volumes. This gets my stamp of approval for best DC omnibus of 2025 as of July, or late June, early July 2025. I don't know that there'll be another omnibus that beats it, but I guess there's the challenge for you, DC. Thank you guys for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, comment if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and everyone just keep talking comics.